Today we are going to talk about what talent is and what unleashing talent is. Unleashing talent is a tagline that we use in everything we do, and basically that means we have a firm belief that everyone has inherent talent, and it is the responsibility of the individuals to understand and believe that they have the talent and make every effort to ensure that they unleash their talent. And unleashing talent requires a growth mindset, and that means that you don't have a roadblock. Societies and some of the individuals and help them co-create talent strategies and talent development interventions or solutions. And these solutions could be for the organization, or it could be for the community development, or it could be for the development of an individual, and that individual could be a young talent, a schoolgoer, or it could be a campus hire, freshers transitioning into the corporate, or maybe the professionals with 5 to 15 years of experience. Or basically, we are human resources and talent consulting organization. We partner with organizations, maybe senior leaders with 15 years plus experience. Well, now we would talk briefly about what our core capabilities are. At Surat CLTD, we specialize in human resources and talent consulting services. A lot of focus is on helping organization or supporting organization on building their succession management, basically building pipelines. So imagine if someone is on a business that is of $200 million and the executive decides to leave the organization. So the impact of 200 million would be a very, very big if you do not have the right succession in place, if you do not have the right leadership pipeline in place. And as a result of that, you may have to hire people from outside, and that could cost you lots. So we, as talent consultants, are capable of deploying end-to-end succession management solutioning for you. We also provide high potential development, leadership development, and performance management end-to-end, from deploying tools to doing training for leaders on how to provide feedback and to employees in terms of what they should do at the time of performance management, recording their accomplishments over the period of time, and then how do they interact with the leaders. We also specialize in managing learning and development function, and also providing support in setting up the learning and development function. Executive coaching, of course, is an area where we substantially contribute towards the development of the senior executives, and we also work as consultants for organization and helping them creating learning strategies, capability building for the organization, developing learning culture and initiatives that are important for organizational development and for the culture change. We also help business. We also help in business performance improvement, and at the same time, we do a lot of motivational workshops and seminars. And in general, we also do leadership training programs for all levels of employees, starting from the freshers to the professionals and senior leadership development. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for visiting Surat CLTD podcast. And today we will talk briefly about our consulting model. We call it Four Steps Consulting Model for unleashing talent for optimal performance. So the first step is called analyze and diagnose, and what that basically means is we get into the organization, have meetings with the senior leaders, trying to understand what their talent needs are and why do they feel they have talent needs. And we challenge some of their perceptions or hypotheses or some of their data. And some of based on the data analysis, we arrive at some of the key indicators for the need for talent development. In a step two, we also analyze the organizational business and people strategies and see if there is a correlation between the talent development strategies and the business and people strategies of the organization, and see if there is any potential gap where the talent interventions and solutions are required. The step three is basically design and deploy. So once we do the step one, which is testify and identify the talent needs and strategize and align with the organizational business and people strategy. At the step third, we do the solutioning and we design the interventions that are important, and then we testify in the real environment along with the business leaders and HR leaders of the organization. Once the approach, the interventions, the solutions are approved and we know the expected probable results for the organization, then we take the fourth step. So basically, the step third is design and deploy the interventions, and the interventions are usually deployed for a period ranging from 3 months to 6 months to 9 to 12 months. It actually covers both the short and the long-term strategies for the talent in any organization. After the talent interventions, we move to step four, where we evaluate the results and try and re-measure the gaps, if any, and then we realign the talent strategy to the organizational goals. And I must give you an example here. Let's say we identified build versus buy as the potential intervention, and what that basically means is you start hiring less from the market, start building more leaders within the organization, and the intervention is high potential development. So as a result of that intervention of developing high potential employees for internal fulfillment, the expected result should be increase in the internal hire percentage, and that percentage is the goal for all the key stakeholders. So that's what we evaluate in a step four. So the approach is laser focused capability building approach, and we partner for performance and decide the results basically in advance. So we co-create value for the organization and try and identify top capabilities needed to accomplish organizational strategic goals and focus on those goals. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining Surat CLTD podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the emerging talent trends. The big question is, why do we need very strong talent strategy in any organization? Often it has been seen that the talent organization within an organization takes a back seat, and a lot of people do not believe that investing in the talent would bring forth any result. And let me tell you, that's a big trap for any senior leader. If you do not have the talent, and if your talent is not directed where it should be, the survival of the organization may be jeopardized. And let me give you some examples of how the talent trends are emerging. A lot of CEOs feel that the investment in people is their number one priority in terms of accelerating the performance of the organization. The second emerging talent trend is the rise of the power skills with the digitization and artificial intelligence, robotics, and so on and so forth in the world. The organizations are undergoing a change, a transformation, and a transition. And that transition has a lot to do with the talent. If we do not prepare our workforce to meet the future challenges, the human capital talent will be under stress. So the another important area is capability building. The organizations that focus on building capabilities on a continuous basis have more engaged and satisfied employees, and it has direct link with the business performance. A very strong performance management practice, if I may say, or the performance management process is very important. The more feedback discussions happen, the more input and more confidence come to the employees for performance. Another important area in terms of the emerging talent is developing learning culture with mobile learning, online learning, and the whole gamut of learning process changes that are happening around the world. And it's very important for the organization to understand that change and lead their employees towards that change. What that basically means is developing a learning culture within the organization, and that responsibility primarily lies right from actually, it doesn't lie on one person or one group, it lies directly from the CEO to the business leaders, the HR leaders, and the managers in general. And employees also need to make efforts towards their own self-development. The shift is also the organizational-centric learning approach, the employee-centric learning approach. The another important area is towards where the talent trends are emerging is organizational agility, and the organizations need to focus more on solutions on continuous learning, accepting change, and develop agile mindset. The last but not the least that we believe, as at Suraj CLTD, in terms of high potential and succession planning, is a build versus buy ratio. So while you develop learning culture for everyone, you need to focus on your top talent so that you have succession in place and you have internal fulfillment in place, and that results into higher level of employee engagement. These discussions that I'm doing on today's podcast, it has references from the research done at the IBM Institute of Business Value in 2020, and then Forbes top 5 trends, and then Willis Towers and Watson, and also LinkedIn 4 trends, and hiring and retaining the best talent. So we strongly believe and urge that the organizations focus on our talent development more than ever before as the external and internal situations are changing. Thank you so much. Welcome to Suraj CLTV. Thank you for visiting our podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Many of you asked me, and people often ask me when I interact with senior leaders in terms of how do you help us or support us understand the gaps in the talent within the organization. So we call it the talent health diagnostics. So what we basically do is we've identified at least 10 areas that we'll take into account and look into each one of these and try and refer to the data that the organizations have or some background to that data. Also, we do focus group discussions and some of the interviews. We also do interviews with the senior leaders, and we actually deep dive into each of these areas. So let me name some of these areas. So the first one, to my mind, is strategic talent planning. Does the organization have a predefined strategic talent plan in place, and if that plan is aligned with the organizational strategy? The second important area we get into and do a deep dive is performance management process system, and in practicality, whether the managers and the employees are aware of the organizational performance management strategic objectives, and and thereafter the feedback process, the review process, the goal setting process, and so I can go and keep talking hours and hours, but basically the idea is whether your performance management process, systems, tools are in place or not. The third important area is succession planning, and this is primarily at the senior most level, CXO and below. Maybe sometimes it goes down to the director level, and we see whether we have the proper succession planning in place or not. And number four is leadership and managerial effectiveness. And all organizations have leaders, and they have leaders at the senior level, they have the leaders at the CXO level, and they have the managers and mid-level leaders, managers, and senior leaders. Now, the big question we ask is, do managers and leaders have the required competencies, behaviors, and capabilities aligned to the organizational goals and strategies, and are they performing to the required level and so we need to determine what is expected of them and what they're doing and see if there is any potential gap. The other important area we do as part of the diagnostic is the engagement and exit analysis. And engagement, I basically mean employee engagement, whether the employees are actively engaged or actively disengaged or appropriately engaged, and so on and so forth. And the sixth is the build versus buy ratio. We do a lot of focus on build versus buy, and this basically means you give preference to the internal talent when it comes to getting larger responsibilities and next level of roles. And we also focus on number 7, competency alignment. And what that basically means is you as an organization have your goals and strategic goals, and you need to understand what capabilities and competencies are required to those organizational goals, and we see if there is a gap in that, and as part of our consulting we help. Number 8 is the high potential development. So we'll look at whether you have the process of identifying high potential or not, and if you do have, how are you planning to develop? And number 9 is business alignment. Do you have the business strategies aligned with the people strategy? That's an interesting area to dig a deep down. And number 10 is important. Last but not least, we look at your HR and talent systems and tools and processes and policies, and whether they are aligned or not with the organizational goals and strategies. So basically there are 10 prominent areas that we use for talent health diagnostics as part of our consulting model. Hopefully this was useful discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you for visiting Siraj CLTD. Many of you asked me to talk about what our leadership development model looks like. So let me give you a brief idea and information about how we work on leadership development. So basically, we have 4 levels of leadership, starting from the senior leadership development, which we call leadership excellence. There's a lot of focus on leading organization, leading self, leading teams, businesses. And then the next level, we have the professional development. Professional development basically is for the managers and leads with 5 years to 12 to 13 to 15 years of experience. And there, the focus is more on leading teams and leading business to a great extent. The third quadrant for leadership development is what we call the Young Professional Development Program, and this program is basically focused at developing the freshers, the graduates, the undergraduates, the students passing out from professional courses, from engineering colleges, from medical colleges, and getting ready for the corporate. So this is basically a bridge program, or we can call it a transition program, and we help them prepare for the transition to the corporate, and that includes a lot of topics like power skills, future skills, emotional intelligence, interpersonal relationship, and of course the corporate transition skills. The fourth quadrant is the Young Talent Excellence Program. This is a very dear program to us, and this is in the core of our heart. So this program is basically aimed at the skilled students from class 8 to class 12, basically class 8, 9, 11, 12. And we provide a certificate program in soft skills to these skilled students. This is based on a lot of feedback that I get from my friends and extended friends and families. So basically, the key focus is on training young talent on soft skills, values, ethics, helping them be more self-aware, and doing programs and behavioral skills, managing relationship, communication skills, and so forth. So in brief, there are 4 areas where we work in terms of leadership development. Leadership excellence, which is for the senior leaders. Professional excellence is for the mid-level leaders and managers and leads. And then we have the young professional excellence program, which is for the freshers, and the young talent development program, which is focused at the school level.